Dzień dobry, cześć. Zapraszam na kolejną lekcję polskiego. Ja mam na imię Kasia, a to jest kanał Polish with Blondes. Today's lesson is about two different aspects of verbs, perfective and imperfective. I will tell you when to use them and how to use them, and I will give you plenty of examples. No to zaczynamy. For the purpose of this lesson, I'm going to divide those verbs into three groups. First group is the ones that look really similar in their perfective and imperfective aspect. The only difference is a prefix. So for example, robić, zrobić, jeść, zjeść. So one of those prefixes is letter Z. And how it changes the meaning is that when you say robię, what you mean is I do something or I'm doing something. Whereas when you add a prefix Z in this case, zrobię, that means I will do something. So just by simply adding the prefix and using this perfective aspect of the verb to do, you can easily create the future tense. And it conjugates exactly in the same way as robić in the present tense. You just add letter Z. And then it's all about the future. Ja zrobię. Ty zrobisz. On, ona, ono zrobi. My zrobimy. Wy zrobicie. Oni, one zrobią. Na przykład, co jutro zrobisz na obiad? Jutro zrobimy pyszne ciasto. Now you may wonder how it's different from będę robić. Będę robić is more about the process or duration, but zrobię is more about the effect. So let's compare it. Będę jutro robić ciasto przez 2 godziny. Jutro zrobię ciasto. Another one, jeść, zjeść, works exactly in the same way. So ja jem is I eat or I'm eating. Ja zjem is I will eat. Co jutro zjesz na śniadanie? And you usually mean one of situation when you say that. Let's compare it with the other future tense. Co będziesz codziennie jeść na śniadanie? Co będziesz jeść na śniadanie w tym hotelu? A co zjesz jutro na śniadanie? Okay, let's now compare the past. When you say robiłem, robiłam, that means that's similar to English I was doing something. And when you say zrobiłam, it's more like I've done something or I did something. So again, let me give you a few examples. Dzisiaj rano robiłam porządki. Moja mama zrobiła pyszny obiad. Can you see the difference? You can also say robiłam to talk about a repetitive thing. So for example, codziennie rano robiłam śniadanie. Whereas dzisiaj rano zrobiłam pyszne śniadanie. Dzisiaj rano zrobiłam śniadanie, a codziennie rano robiłam śniadanie. And well, there is no rule about which prefix to add when. You just need to learn it. It's something to memorize, definitely. So another one, which is a very common verb, jechać, which is imperfective aspect, versus pojechać, perfective one. So when you say jadę, that means I am going somewhere. Pojadę is I will go. So again, by adding the prefix po, you create the future tense. Gdzie pojedziesz na wakacje w przyszłym roku? A ile czasu będziesz tam jechać? Jechałam dzisiaj do pracy 2 godziny. Wczoraj pojechałam do Warszawy. What's interesting is that the perfective aspect, so zrobić, zjeść, pojechać, doesn't have the present tense. So you can only make the present tense out of the imperfective form. So robić, ja robię. Jechać, ja jadę. Jeść, ja jem. But if you conjugate the same verbs in its perfective aspect, you will get the future. Zrobię, I will do. Pojadę, I will go. Zjem, I will eat. The second group of those verbs does not have a prefix. Instead, it's just a slightly different verb form. One is longer, one is shorter. An example. Kupić, kupować. So kupić is perfective, kupować is imperfective. So when you want to say I buy or I'm buying something, you say kupuję. You use the longer one. Ja kupuję, ty kupujesz, ona kupuje. Ja kupię, ty kupisz, ona kupi, my kupimy, wy kupicie, oni kupią. You get the future. Let's compare the two. Co zwykle kupujesz w supermarkecie? Jaki prezent kupisz dla babci? Let's look at the past. So you may say, from the imperfective aspect, you will say kupowałam, kupowałem, which is more like I was buying. And again, you can use it for repetitive action. For example, kiedyś kupowałam więcej chleba. And kupiłam is when you're talking about one specific thing. Na przykład, dzisiaj kupiłam 1 chleb i 2 bułki. A kiedyś zwykle kupowałam 2 chleby na śniadanie dla naszej rodziny. Another example of such a difference is dawać, imperfective, versus dać. So let's look at the imperfective first. Ja daję, ty dajesz, ona daje, my dajemy, wy dajecie, oni, one dają. So that's the present tense. And when you use the other one, dać, you don't have a present tense. When you say ja dam, ty dasz, ona da, that's the future. Na przykład, co dasz swojemu bratu na urodziny? A co zwykle dajesz swojemu bratu na urodziny? And again, let's look at the past. Już dałam jej prezent. Zawsze dawałam jej prezent na urodziny. And the last group is the most difficult because you have 2 completely different verbs that you use in an imperfective and perfective aspect in the same meaning. So the most, let's say, infamous one, because it's quite difficult, but at the same time very useful, so that's why I think we should try and learn it, is to take. Wziąć, brać. So let's look at brać first. That's imperfective. So when you conjugate it, you can make the present, the future, and the past tense. So let's start with present. Ja biorę. Ty bierzesz. Ona bierze. My bierzemy. Wy bierzecie. Oni biorą. Na przykład, jak często bierzesz psa na spacer? Albo babcia bierze rano tabletki. Now let's look at wziąć. No present tense. When I conjugate it, it's going to be the future. Wezmę. I will take. Ty weźmiesz. Ona, ono weźmie. My weźmiemy. Wy weźmiecie. Oni, one wezmą. Na przykład, czy weźmiesz w tym roku urlop w lipcu? Co weźmiesz ze sobą na wakacje? Czy ona weźmie dzisiaj psa na spacer? And let's look at the past. Ja brałam, ja brałem. So that suggests a continuing thing, a process or a repetitive thing. Na przykład, kiedyś zawsze brałam plecak na wakacje. Teraz biorę walizkę. When you say wzięłam, and by the way, masculine form is wziąłem, then you mean a one-off thing. For example, w tym roku wzięłam jedną małą walizkę na wakacje. So it's just a one-off situation. Look at the difference between feminine and masculine, because it's not only the ending, but in this particular case, you've got a different vowel sound in the stem of the word. Ja wzięłam, ja wziąłem. Ty wzięłaś, ty wziąłeś. On wziął, ona wzięła. And masculine, my wzięliśmy, wy wzięliście. Oni wzięli, one wzięły. So these are just a couple of examples of different verbs in their perfective and imperfective aspect, with some explanation that hopefully will help you to understand the topic. I think you just need to learn them step by step using some simple sentence examples to remember them better. So at the end of the video, you'll have more examples of such verbs in those 3 different categories. So first of all, we use a prefix. Robić, zrobić, jeść, zjeść, jechać, pojechać. There are more prefixes, not just z and po. Take a look at the end of the video. The second group, a shorter and a longer version. Kupować, kupić, dawać, dać. And then 2 completely different verbs for 2 aspects, such as wziąć and brać. Also, in the description below, you'll find a link to a PDF with some more example sentences and some practice. To wszystko na dzisiaj. Do zobaczenia. Cześć!